Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lepakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Wednesday, the 17th of December. Pakistan lifts moratorium on terror death penalties after Peshawar school attack. Future bleak as Gilgit continues to be denied political rights. And temperatures dip across North India after Himalayan snowfall. And now for all the details. Disbelief and despair has enveloped all of Pakistan a day after at least 132 school children were shot dead by the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan or TTP. The United Nations condemned the assault and said the brutality of the terrorist has hit a new low.
The United Nations termed the attack on a Peshawar Army school an act of barbarism. The United Nations Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights said Tuesday's attack has hit new levels.
But when children are deliberately targeted in this way, it goes to another level. And really the Taliban today have hit a level of barbarity that is hard to recall, that anyone has attacked children in this way, apparently deliberately trying to kill as many as they could before they were killed themselves.
Pakistani teenager, child educationalist and Nobel Peace Prize laureate Malala Yousafzai called upon all political parties in the country to stand united against terrorism.
We stand with all those families and all those children who are injured right now and who are suffering through this big trauma. And now it is time that we unite, and I call upon the international community, leaders in Pakistan, all political parties and everyone that we should stand up together and fight against terrorism, and we should make sure that every child gets safe and quality education.
More than 120 students who suffered injuries mainly on head and chest during the nearly 10-hour-long siege are being treated in hospitals in Peshawar. Scores of heartbroken families in Peshawar also laid to rest their dear ones who were killed in the brutal attack.
हम ये मजम्मत करते हैं, मतलब है कि ये तो कौन के मेहमान थे, ये तो स्टूडेंट थे, इनका मतलब है कि ये जो ऑपरेशन हो रहा है या कोई और वाक़यात उनके साथ इन बच्चों का क्या काम.
Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, who condemned the terror strike, had announced a 3-day national mourning. Addressing an all-party meeting to assess the situation in capital Islamabad on Wednesday, he vowed to free the country from terrorism. Candlelight marches and prayers were held across Pakistan to commemorate those who lost their lives in the shootout. The Mullah Fazlullah faction of the TTP, which claimed responsibility, had called it a revenge attack for the ongoing anti-Taliban operation in its strongholds. The Pakistan Army, however, said the ongoing military crackdown will continue and anyone who supports the militia will be eliminated. 6 heavily armed militants dressed in army uniforms stormed into a Peshawar school on Tuesday, taking more than 500 students and staff members hostage for hours. Though all the militants were gunned by the Pakistan Army later in the day, it left more than 140 dead. This was one of the biggest terror attacks the country has faced in recent times.
In the meantime, Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif said the country will revoke a moratorium on death penalties in terror-related cases. The decision was announced after he chaired the all-party meeting on Wednesday in the wake of the Peshawar Army school attack. Pakistan had imposed a suspension on all capital punishments since 2008. With more than 8,000 prisoners, the country has one of the largest death convicts in the world. Many of them are militants who have been involved in various terror attacks across the country. And pledging solidarity to the victims of the terror attack in Pakistan, hundreds organised candlelight vigils and prayer services in neighbouring India as well. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who condemned the attack, called for observation of 2 minutes silence in schools across the country. Hundreds of students also took out rallies at different places against the barbaric violence that targeted innocent children. Security has been stepped up in education centres and public places in the wake of Tuesday's horrific attack. Ahead of a possible visit by US President Barack Obama to India, security has been tightened in New Delhi and the province of Jammu and Kashmir. Intelligence agencies are believed to have taken strict measures following inputs received of possible subversive activities by various militant groups. A report.
India's Republic Day celebrations in New Delhi are more than a month away. But with US President Barack Obama expected to be the chief guest, the capital is already on high alert ahead of the January 26 event.
जो हमलों की आशंका हमेशा रहती है और हमें सारे प्रिकॉशन लेने चाहिए और कड़े प्रिकॉशन लेने चाहिए ताकि इस तरह की कोई घटना ना होने पावे। और मुझे उम्मीद है कि उनकी विजिट बहुत अच्छी तरह से जाएगी, किसी किस्म की कोई बात नहीं होगी ओबामा साहब की विजिट में। लेकिन ये ज़रूर है कि जो हमारा पास्ट का एक्सपीरियंस रहा है कि भारत की पुलिस ने हमेशा बहुत अच्छा काम किया।
The annual Republic Day parade passes through a multi-layered security zone in central Delhi. More than 20,000 armed personnel are deployed to keep a tight vigil across the city. And experts say security agencies will be twice as vigilant in January, given the presence of the leaders of the world's two largest democracies. Still, the danger of an attack cannot be ruled out.
Some incidents may be engineered to coincide with the visit. These could be in Jammu and Kashmir, these could be in other parts of the country, simply to draw attention, global attention to the violence or conflicts in these regions, or the demands of the parties in conflict.
And with Al-Qaeda having announced the launch of a new branch in India and the recent arrest of a pro-Islamic State youth in Bangalore, the police, intelligence and paramilitary forces will be doing all they can to ensure Republic Day celebrations will not be the target of attacks.
At least 6 people, including 3 police personnel, were killed in a suicide attack in Afghanistan's southern Helmand province on Wednesday. The suicide bomb blast targeted a Kabul bank branch in Lashkar Gah. The attackers forced their way inside the building after engaging in a firefight with the security forces. The Afghan Taliban has claimed responsibility for the attack. The militia, which was ousted from power by a US-led coalition in 2001, has stepped up attacks on international military forces as the Western troops withdraw from the war-torn nation. The Gilgit-Baltistan Assembly ended its term last week, but with the law having no provision in establishment of a caretaker set up to oversee the next elections, the future of the disputed region already seems bleak. A report.
The Gilgit-Baltistan Empowerment and Self-Governance Ordinance, promulgated in August 2009, had promised to give full internal and political and democratic autonomy to the region, restructuring an existing legislative setup. But even after years of its passage and the subsequent formation of a new government, it has become clear that the empowerment package has only brought a change in nomenclature rather than genuine political reforms. Locals say their homeland remains an area of neglect and exploitation where democratic rights are denied in the absence of the self-determination that Pakistan advocated.
डमी आईनी सेटअप मिला है, ये आईनी सेटअप नहीं है, ये एक गवर्नेंस आर्डर के तहत हमें एक सेटअप दिया गया है और इसे अभी तक आईनी हैसियत हासिल नहीं है। अगर इसे आईनी हैसियत दी जाती तो गिलगित बल्तिस्तान में मौजूद सुप्रीम अपीलेट कोर्ट ख़त्म होता और ये पाकिस्तान का जो सुप्रीम अपीलेट कोर्ट है उसके मातहत होता। आप इस बात पे अंदाज़ा लगाएं कि दुनिया का शायद ये वाहिद खित्ता है जहाँ पर 2 किस्म की हुकूमतें काम कर रही हैं। एक तो वज़ीर आला और गवर्नर की मौजूदगी से ऐसा लग रहा है कि ये सूबा है, दूसरी जानिब यहाँ पर सुप्रीम अपीलेट कोर्ट की मौजूदगी से ये जाहिर होता है कि ये एक स्टेट है। तो ये समझ में नहीं आता कि हम किसी स्टेट में हैं या किसी सूबाई सेटअप में हैं।
The Gilgit-Baltistan Council, which came into force with the package in 2009, has failed at all levels. The assembly, which completed its term last week, continues to face the heat. While the regional elected assembly did not have powers to make laws, the discrimination against the region for not having any right to legislate on its natural resources is seeing the discontent of the people too.
आईनी हैसियत के ऐलान के हवाले से यहाँ अखबारात और मकामी लोगों के अंदर जो चिमगोइयाँ हो रही हैं वो तो कई अरसे दराज से हो रही हैं। असम्बली के अंदर ये बातें हो रही हैं और हाल ही में वह असम्बली इजलास में हमारे वज़ीर आला साहब ने भी एक स्टेटमेंट दिया कि यहाँ से ट्रेन वगैरह गुजारने से पहले हमारी आईनी हैसियत डिक्लेयर की जाए। यहाँ का हर अगर बच्चा ये चाहता है कि आईनी हैसियत डिक्लेयर की जाए।
The self-empowerment package is meaningless as long as Pakistan is unwilling to devolve powers to its elected representatives. A governor appointed by Islamabad continues to run the administration here.
The World Bank has approved 3 key infrastructure projects worth $1 billion in Bangladesh. The projects include an assistance of $400 million for primary education development and $375 million for the multi-purpose disaster shelter project. It has also allocated another $300 million for the income support program for the poor children. Bangladesh is expected to improve the quality of education and ensure timely delivery of textbooks in public schools. The multi-purpose disaster shelter project is aimed at constructing 552 relief centers across the coastal areas of the country vulnerable to natural disasters. A cold wave has intensified its grip in northern India, disrupting lives. While higher altitudes received season's first snowfall, the remaining parts were lashed by rains. Here's a report.
Fresh snowfall in the upper regions coupled with mild showers in the plains have plunged temperatures during the day in the capital New Delhi. The neighbouring northern Indian states of Punjab and Haryana have been the worst affected. Mercury levels have dropped by several notches to 4 degrees and caused foggy conditions in many parts. A fresh bout of snowfall has also been reported in Uttarakhand, which has attracted an influx of tourists to this hilly terrain. Often called the land of the gods due to its many Hindu temples and pilgrimage centres, Uttarakhand has been devastated by floods for the past 2 years. For the hundreds of villagers who remain homeless here and the thousands of others who live on the streets across India's north, a harsh winter will only make their struggle for survival more difficult.
बचने के लिए जो बस ये आग बढ़ाते हैं, ये अग्नि लकड़ी बढ़ा के और बच्चे इनको बैठा लेते हैं.
The weather department has predicted there will be no respite from the chilly conditions in the coming days.
The northerly chilly winds will come from the Himalayan states and therefore they will lead to fall in the temperature, particularly the night temperature, by 3 to 4 over most parts of the plains of northwest India, central India. Necessary conditions of the temperature, moisture as well as wind will lead to some higher possibility of fog, or rather I'm saying dense fog from Punjab to Bihar.
Meanwhile, the prevailing conditions could also affect voter turnout in Jammu and Kashmir and Jharkhand, where the last phase of assembly polls take place on Saturday. According to reports, some parts of Jammu and Kashmir have recorded a low of -10 degrees Celsius.
20 तारीख को जो चुनाव है, अभी जो ठंडा चल रहा है, तो लग रहा है ठंडा में कुछ असर पड़ेगा, माने आने जाने में, घर से निकलने में कुछ कठिनाई आम जनता को होगा.
The woolies are out as persistent rain and shower herald the start of what could be a severe winter. But even as bone-chilling conditions are set to engulf most parts of northern India, weather experts have warned they are just a taste of biting days to come. Avneet Arora for South Asia Newsline, New Delhi.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. Pakistan lifts moratorium on terror death penalties after Peshawar's school attack. Future bleak as Gilgit continues to be denied political rights. And temperatures dip across North India after Himalayan snowfall. Now, our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.